Friday afternoon after the close, November 5th, and I want to do an extra video here, and what we're going to look at is just some very quick looks at some ETFs. We're going to look at real estate, we're going to look at banks, and I think we're going to look at the semiconductors too. So, this is brought to you by freechartvideos.com, using time-honored techniques to understand modern markets, and this is for educational purposes only, not intended to be any form of investment advice. You need to make up your own mind what you want to do with your money, and I don't want to be any part of that. I just draw lines on charts. You have to draw your own conclusions about the information I give, and I'm not a licensed professional. So let's look at some ETFs real quick. All right, number one is TNA. This is a highly leveraged small cap fund. It's the bull fund, leveraged 3x over the underlying shares. And this has been in a nice channel for a while, as you can see. It had some extended sideways development here that I thought, well, that's likely just some consolidation. It broke out, then it gapped up. I'm still thinking it goes up and hits the low 60s, 64 being a target. I'm not going to get greedy. If we get anything over 62 and it starts to look squirrely, I'm going to sell this. But I will look to get back in on weakness, because I believe the markets are going higher in general. So that's TNA. We're not quite there yet. The Direction Daily Semiconductor Bull 3X, I sold today. We tagged this line. It could bust up out of the top of that, but if it doesn't, that's okay. I bought back here at 32 and change, and if I could do that trade day in and day out every 12 days or so, I wouldn't have a financial care in the world. So I'm not going to get greedy. This was a nice trade set up by a little pattern here. When we broke this little line right there, it said buy, so I did, and I'm totally out of this now. But if we come back and tag this bottom line, and it looks like firming up, and we get a similar kick off of that line with some confirmation, either a candle or a small pattern, then I'm back in the semiconductor fund, because I think semis are going to do real well. IYF, financial sector, what can you say? You know, we all have been waiting for the banks to have some contribution, and we've been looking at this big pattern develop that looks like, again, it's kind of a complex double-headed inverted head and shoulders, where we got two shoulders, two heads, and two shallower shoulders, and that clearly, I don't think there's any question, folks, that's a breakout. And the target for IYF is a little over $60. I'm not in IYF, actually. I'm in the leveraged fund, 3X fund, FAS. FAS. I have to say that carefully, not FAS. Don't even think about FAS. 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 And let's just look at that chart real quick. As you can see, FAS is a little bit downturned here, but that's because it is a 3X fund and there is some decay over time with its share price. But you can see here that this pattern measures out to something in the low 30s. I believe that's going to hit, and it looks to me, if we look at today's action where it ended, it looks to me like we're flagging here, and this may be one of those flags that flies at half-mast. So how long it takes for us to get up to the low 30s, you never can tell. It could happen early next week, or we could go sideways for a while and it could take a little longer. But I think that is the destiny for the banks in the short term. I'm not saying long term, because I want you to see something. It doesn't make a lot of sense to have a 5.5 about a 5.5 month pattern, the net result of which is 1 week of gains. I believe this is a pretty major turning point here, and eventually we may even get up into the 40s and high 40s and back test this line. But I'm not ready to make that call yet. I'm just ready to call what this pattern says specifically. And finally, IYR, and I'm using this as a proxy for those funds, DRN, which is the 3X bull fund, and URE, which is the 2X fund, that basically follows the same basket as IYR. And this is kind of an interesting chart, and I'll tell you why. Because depending upon what you think of this little area right here, your outlook on what's going on in IYR can be changed. I'll show you what I mean. I've seen charts where people are starting here and overlooking this, and they're saying, my goodness, we have an ascending wedge, and that has bearish implications. Okay? But if you start on this peak and say, well, this was just a little bit out of range, then all of a sudden you end up with what the overall markets have been doing, which is an inverse head and shoulders, a little false breakout, coming back down for a little more work than a real breakout, neckline test, and now it's off to the races. That is my hunch, and I'm saying that primarily because I'm looking at what's going on in the broader indexes. There is one stock that makes up a large part of these real estate stocks, and that's SPG, Simon Property Group. And you might want to take a look at Simon and see what it's doing, because that ought to give you a pretty good indication. But I think IYR, which I'm holding over the weekend, I think IYR is likely good for the low 60s, and possibly even a tag on this line. But again, I don't know that I want to get greedy. There is going to be a pullback in this market, and frankly, I really want to be in cash when that happens. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and when you get a chance, I would appreciate it if you'd go over to the website, freechartvideos.com, and spend a little time looking at some of the videos from the past, and there'll be some pretty good links and stuff to some resources there as well. I'm thinking about a forum, adding a forum to this. So if you're interested and you're seeing this this video on YouTube, respond. Let me know if you think a forum would be a good thing. Look, you guys take care. Hope you have a great day in the markets on Monday and the following week. Have a great weekend.